All right, so to put it simply, one coal generator takes 15 coal per minute and 45 water per minute. That will output 75 megawatts of power, minus what it takes to get the coal and the water. If we scale that up to 4 coal generators, we get a nicer number of 60 coal per minute and 180 water per minute. And we can also see our power jumps up to 300 megawatts. However, the cost to supply the resources required also goes up. Now, if we jump up further to 8, we can see our numbers are still workable. 120 coal per minute, 360 water per minute, and we get now 600 megawatts, which is a very respectable amount in the early game. All right, so I just wanted to quickly go over the net power breakdown because unlike biomass, where there is nothing required to make our fuel, for coal power, we need to mine the coal and we need to extract the water, which both cost power. In this situation, I'm using a pure node of coal. Starting out at the top, we can see 4 coal generators will give us 300 megawatts of power. In order to get our coal, we need a Mark 1 mine. We can underclock it to give us 60 coal per minute, so that will only take 2.5 megawatts. We are going to use a single water extractor for this design, so we are going to have to overclock it with a power shard to 150%. It saves us a lot of space and allows us to put down 25 power storage, which we can see down below, giving us 2,500 megawatts of power storage. We can see that to power 4 coal generators, it will cost 36.7 megawatts. And if we subtract that from 300, we are left with 263.3 megawatts of power, which is about 87.7% efficient. Now, jumping up to the 600 megawatt design, simply the previous design done again. Everything scales very nicely. We are left with the same 87.7% efficiency, which means that it's a pretty solid modular design. And just to hammer that point home, I've gone ahead and shown a 16 coal generator setup, or 1200 megawatts. All right, and last thing before the actual blueprint design, I promise. This is just a visualization of a single module. Underneath will be the water extractor and the power storage. It will send the water up into the coal power generators above it, and then the coal line will be brought in next to it and will also bring the coal up to the coal generators. All right, so starting out with the blueprint design, what we're going to do is take out a 2-meter foundation to start. We're going to place that in the bottom left-hand corner. Next, we're going to switch to our 4-meter foundations, and I like to use the fix-it foundation for this. Going to build 4 tall with the 4-meter foundations. Next, we're going to switch back to the concrete. And we're going to build first a 4x3 then coming back to the initial tower, you want to line up the 1-meter foundation to the top of the second foundation. And we're going to first build a 1x3, and then we're going to repeat that and build another one. With those built, we can get rid of that first set of foundations, and you should be left with a 3x4 foundation with 2 1x3 strips underneath. A coal power plant, we've got our coal input on the right and the water input on the left. What we want to do is set up 2 inputs in a repeatable pattern. So to start, we are going to come into the center row of foundations, and in the top left corner, we're going to place down a conveyor lift floor hole, and then we're going to go to the rightmost row, and in the rightmost corner, and place down another one. So what we should have is 2 conveyor floor holes in opposite corners of each foundation. So with these 2 placed, we're going to delete the first row of foundations so we can see underneath. I'm going to take out a splitter, lining it up with the conveyor floor hole and making sure that it's on this center line here. Go ahead and place one down and do the same thing on the next one. We can connect these up with Mark 1 belts and then connect the splitters with Mark 1 lifts. Once that's all done, you can delete the next layer of foundations. All right, now we're going to set up the water manifold. So take a Mark 1 pipeline, and we want to line it up in the middle of this. We can see this square here. We want it to be in the middle of that. And if we look closely, we can see that it goes right underneath our conveyor floor holes, which is exactly what we want. You can drag it all the way over to the other side, making sure we're keeping it in the middle. It's not one off to the side in either direction. And place it down. Now we're going to use the pipeline junction cross to get a nice snapping point. So if we remember, our water input is over there on the left. So what we need to do is set up our water pipe so that we can make a connection right here to the left of our coal input. So the easiest way to do that is use a junction cross and rotate it. However, you can see it's kind of just slides. There's no way for me to lock it. So a nice tip is if you place down a junction cross, it will now snap and lock directly to it. So we can do that on both sides and then delete the extra stuff. We're going to come back over here, place down our junction, snap, lock, and delete the extra. Now we're going to delete the last row of foundations here, rebuild our top row, and what we should be left with is our original 3x4 foundation, our now splitter manifolds, and the water manifold. All right, with the top side complete, we are going to head down below, taking out our 1 meter foundations, and we're going to build a 3x3 foundation. Once that is built, we're going to take out our wall outlet Mark 1s, and these are going to be for our coal generators to connect to. So I like to line them up with the middle of our inputs. So we'll put one right there. And we're going to build over a foundation and a half to the third column here. And then I've started building one down like that, so that we're left with basically an L. And this is going to be for our water extractor and the power storage. So we're going to go ahead and save it. I like to just call it coal manifold, and then I kind of indicate which direction the input's coming from. So in this case, it's from the left. So that's our first blueprint done. And with that all set, we can clear our designer out. All right, so this next blueprint is coal generator blueprint. So we're going to start out by lining up our coal generator on the center line of the blueprint designer. And I've locked it in place. We're going to nudge it one space to the right, place it down. We're going to take our second coal generator, do the same thing, except this time lining it up so the right side is now on the center line. Lock it in place, move it over once, and place. So what we've done is we put our coal generators into a blueprint that are at the correct spacing for our manifold. So now instead of placing them one at a time, we can kind of quickly place two at a time. And it doesn't seem like much, but it's twice as good. So we'll take that, right? This last blueprint you may not use right away. However, I just want to show it now. And that is power storage. So in order to save a ton of time, I like to build a power storage blueprint. Start by placing one directly in the middle, and then build a row of 5 to the edge, and build another row to the other edge. So you're left with a cross. Now all you have to do is fill in the spaces left. And then the super fun part of connecting them all together. But the benefit of doing this in a blueprint is we only have to do this one time. All right. with all our connections made, go ahead, save this as 25 hour storage. So what we're left with are 3 simple blueprints that take care of most of our coal power needs. All right, so let's build this thing. So I've gone ahead, picked out our area. You just want to make sure that you have a good body of water to work with, and that you have coal nearby, of course. So gone ahead and hooked up the pure node over there, brought it over. So to get started, let's first establish the height that we're going to build on in the water. Easiest way to do that, take a 4-meter foundation, you're going to lock it to the world grid, and we're just going to aim at the water until right there. We get it to drop down so that it is just about a meter above the water. If we switch to our 1-meter foundation here, you can see. So now we want to build off the coast just slightly so that we don't run into any interference. So in this case, I'll go about 3 foundations off. Now from this point here, this is going to be our reference point. So we're going to build up 3 and then down 2 foundations. So for the bottom row, we're going to build out 7 2 times. And then along the back row, again, build out 7 and connect them together. So what we should be left with is a 6 by 8 rectangle that has the front 2 rows completely full and an open 3 by 6 area in the middle. All right, now this next part I want to highlight because it took me a little bit to kind of understand. So if we place our blueprint first and we get rid of the bottom floor here, we will not be able to place a water extractor underneath it, which is what we want to do. So even though this would fit, the game says no. So we need to first place our water extractor. So that's just something important that will save you a lot of headache. Now the first thing we want to do is establish, put that away. The first thing we want to do is establish our snapping point. So we're going to use the junction again. And now we can take out our water extractor and see that it snaps nicely. So I like to use the little line on the left here. If you look on the foundation and line that up with the front ladder and place our extractor. So with that down, we can get rid of the junction and take out our blueprint again. Now we can see that we are still able to place it. And if we just lock it in place, you can make sure everything lines up nicely. Can confirm that we built it at the right height. There's no clipping happening and everything looks good. All right, so we place 1 down, switch to blueprint mode, make it easier, and place down the second. So at this point, we should have our water extractor in place and our full blueprint manifold established. Now the next thing we want to do is connect up everything underneath. So first connect the belts together. For this setup, we only need to use Mark 1s because it only is taking 60 coal. Next, we're going to take our Mark 1 pipes and connect them underneath using a horizontal to vertical connection. That will give us this nice U. This just helps maintain pressure in the pipes and kind of stops any sloshing around that we don't want. Now the last thing we need to do is connect up our water extractor to the manifold above it. So for here, I switch to the Auto 2D option and I place it right in front of the water extractor. Now if we switch to the horizontal to vertical, we are able to directly connect underneath to the manifold and nicely supply it. Now if you notice, this doesn't yet have any pumps, and if you caught on earlier, this doesn't need any pumps. So we're kind of manipulating the way the game uses pipes, and For some reason, this works even though it's greater than 10 meters. So, shh, don't tell Snut. Okay, cool. Now, with the underside taken care of, we are going to head on up to the top. Now, for this, if you're in survival mode, simply, build yourself a ladder and get yourself up there. So the first thing we need to do is expand our perimeter so we have enough room to build. So we're going to build the 6x8 outline, just like we did underneath. And over here, I like to do my little access port. So we switch to the inner corner extension, rotate that in place, and there we go. Nice and clean. All right. So with our new perimeter established, got our 8 and 6. See, it matches up underneath. We can now drop down and place down our coal generators. So we need to switch out of the blueprint mode, and what we want to do is we don't want them to be clipping with the floor holes. We actually want them one space back, and this will make for a nicer connection with the water pipe. So once you have it lined up, go ahead and place that down and do the same thing for the next. Now it's time to connect the inputs up. So I like to just get rid of this first foundation layer. Makes it easy to see underneath. And we're going to grab our pipeline first, staying in the horizontal to vertical mode. We're going to connect directly up from the junction below into the coal generator. And we're going to do that all the way down. As you can see here, if I fly up, see the junctions there. And from the side, it's a very nice 90-degree turn. And then the last thing we need to do is connect up the coal. Now, if you listen closely, there's that very faint clicking sound. That's basically saying that the conveyor lift is connected to whatever building you're pointing at, or merger, splitter, etc. So this basically just confirms that we will have a connection, and everything is now hooked up. In order to get our initial power, we're going to pretend that our base up here is a real one, and we have our biomass and everything from our initial setup. So we're going to take some of that and hook it up to our coal power. We're just going to connect up right in to the main line here. And now if we remember, we have our connection here. We can use that for our water extractor. Now the last thing we need to do for this water extractor is drop in a power shard and make sure it is overclocked to 180 water per minute. And as we can see, the upper ones are getting water. We work our way down, get to the end here. We do see it start to fill up. So this will take a little bit to fully charge the system, and that's fine. We do see the water starting to make its way in, and it is rising. So we'll give that a little bit of time. While that is getting started, we can connect up our coal. All right, so we've got our coal now going in. Don't judge me. I know it's not the best, but gets the job done for this demonstration. Now, a nice tip is don't connect the power underneath until everything is completely charged and ready to go. And by charged, I mean, you got water in the machine and a full amount of coal. So I like to grab some coal and just hand feed it. Make sure everything has a nice full stack of 100. And as we can see, the water is fully charging inside of each coal generator. So everything is filling up nicely, and we now have coal making its way down the belt. And once that is fully at the end, we will go ahead and start turning on our generators. All right, once our water lines are fully charged and every coal generator has 100 coal inside of it, we are able to turn them on. So we want to first make sure we have our blueprints connected up. so that we get everything going into one place. And now if we're in, again, survival mode, what you can do is delete the foundation underneath and just easily connect up 2 at a time. Do the same thing here. We check out our connection. You can see that even though we have a capacity of 390 for the biomass, we're only producing 300, and it's nice and steady. So by filling up everything, we avoid the sawtooth pattern that is all too common with coal power. And that is because either the water or the coal, or both, is not coming in high enough quantities. Or it is, and it's being consumed by the generators because they need a buffer as well, which takes an extra amount of coal or water up front. So you can see here we have a nice steady line. And if we head back over, as we can see, our water lines are staying charged and we are not having any issues with water in the generators themselves. Now, as it stands, this module is effectively complete. If we have access to the power storage and we want to put those down, we absolutely can. So for this one, I like to line it up with the center of the second blueprint that we put down, second manifold, and just bring it right up to the edge of that foundation of that blueprint. And I like to have it so that the one that we're plugging into is in the bottom right hand corner, right near our outlet right there. So go ahead and place those down, plug them in, and there we go. You can see we have a nice 2,500 megawatts of power storage, charging at a nice healthy rate right there, 263.5 megawatts. And yeah, that's gonna last us a nice long while. So this right here is a pretty strong little setup, but we were able to take it one step further and make it even better. All right, so let's say 300 megawatts of power is no longer enough. We need to expand. That's really easy to do. First thing we're going to do is build out 2 rows of 7 foundations each again. We're going to build up and over to connect back in. And you might already see where this one's going. We're literally going to be building the same module again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Perfect. Lines are looking good. Water is in. And once the coal is reached the end, do the same thing we did before and make our connections. So we are now running steadily at, let's see, there we go, 600 megawatts. You can see we now have 5,000 megawatts of power storage. And everything is comfortably solid. If you found this video helpful and enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. I am working back into Satisfactory. It has been a long time, and I apologize for that, but you know, life gets in the way of the things we want to do, so sometimes those things have to take a backseat. But we are trying again. We are coming back at it. Got a couple ideas in the back of my mind here, and of course 1.0 is just around the corner, so probably going to try and do some live streaming and get a let's play going again. So hopefully if you guys are interested in that, make sure you subscribe and stick around for all that's to come. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.